Hey, it's Makarov owner. So, been working on something here for just a little while, and just kind of documenting what I'm doing. So I've got some Argentine brass. It's actually already primed, and I'm working towards 7.62 by 45. I was working on that with 308 just a little while ago, and so I got this concept of reforming this brass, and I use 220 Swift brass in order to form my 7.62 by 45. And I thought, well, you know, what if you could do this with 308 brass? And you can see I got the decapper out, so rodding it back down. Okay, so this is what I had earlier. It's the same thing. So I basically have sized it down to this bottom area. Now I have to put it in the chuck on the lathe and take that excess thickness off, and it needs to go down to 0.44, and the same thing on the rim, the 0.44. So I'm going to do that now. Okay, so I'm at the Shopsmith, and I've got my caliper, which I keep forgetting to bring that over here. I'm going to go ahead and chuck this up in and get her snug. And then I'm just going to take the file and file this excess material off. I'll give you a demo, and then I'm going to pause the video. That's what I'm going to be doing. I'll get that done. I'll come back. Okay, so I got that pretty close to size. It's not perfect. You actually have a little more mass down here in the center. I went a little too far on the rim. It's an experiment anyway, so we'll see what happens. I'm going to go back over to the press now. Okay, so we're back at the press. Get my little rod out of there. Now we'll see if this die will accept the shell. And it seems to be doing exactly that. So what I needed to do was pull a little of the fat off the end so that the die body would pass up and through there. Now what I need to do is run it up to where I get a shoulder at 1.44. And it's a slow process. Down here on the bottom end, there's a bushing that's made out of, I think it's either a 32 or a 380 case inside of a 38 or 357. And all that does is raise things up for me so that I can use this die. It's a 303 Brit. At 178, I need to be at 144 on that shoulder. And it's going to take a few presses down and through. I really got to get into that neighborhood. And that shoulder is a critical part. 173. We're going to take a big turn down in. You got to keep these cases lubed or you're not going to get anywhere with them. On one of the cases that I did earlier, that guy, I checked the wall thickness. I cut it open and checked the wall thickness to find out how thick it was after turning that brass down. And I probably still have that piece in my pocket, but it seemed to be sufficient thickness that I shouldn't have a case separation. I'm thinking I'm going to be okay with it. So Um, to give you the measurement here in a minute. I want to get to this proper measurement first, and then we'll go from there. You see that neck's getting quite long, and there's no decapper in there or neck sizer. I'm at 152, so let's see. I don't want to get too excited now. I'm getting close. Starting to get up to the threads now on this this die, and that's going to make me nervous. I'm going to need to do some trim. I'm a 1452 or 151. Okay, so I'm going to do just a little tiny bit. Because we are just right there. One, 4, 4. Perfect. So far, this case is coming out absolutely beautiful. Other than on my rim, I reduced it a little too much. I've had problems with rims before doing this on 220 Swift where I've reduced them down and they don't want to stay in a shell holder. So we'll check some shell holders real quick and see if I have one that's going to work. That guy's pretty close. The thing is that pretty close doesn't work very well sometimes, because what happens is it rips the lips off that shell, and then you're stuck with that the neck sizer still in there, and that's just, it sucks. That's the easiest way to put it. It sucks. Okay, so now what we're going to do is go back over to the lathe, take the caliper, take these wrenches and stuff, and I'm going to use my nifty little adjustment tool there, and we're going to set depth for doing a cutoff. And I'm going to take a pencil with me too, so I can put a tentative line. And so let's go over there. Okay, so what we're after is 1771, and I've got to adjust my little depth gauge, but I need to get my measurement on here first. Look at that, I got my little adapter for the base in my hand, and that's no good. Okay, now let's mark this with a pencil. I want to be at 177, and if anything, I want to trim a little long. I don't want to be short. I want to get to the neighborhood, and then I want to do it in the rest of the way by hand, because it just, you end up taking too much off too fast, and then you regret it. It's just the way it is. You can always take more, but you can't ever freaking put it back, man. Seven. So I'm going to trim right here. It's like 1/8 or 1/8 It's pretty long, but I'd rather be long than short. So I'm going to go ahead and chuck this guy up. It's hard in this light to see my line where I'm planning on separating. Let's get that there. Okay, I'm going to set that aside. Now I gotta get my little adapter. I have this nifty little tool, and what I do, I'll have to reset this before I go back to doing other neat stuff. So where this comes in handy, just back that off. Now it's not locked anymore. And run that nut in, run this nut back. And it's being sticky. Of course it is. Okay, so we're going to stick a wrench on that baby. We'll just turn in with a wrench. So we got to get it brought into the neighborhood. Let's see where we're at. That's actually doggone near perfect. I think I can live with that right there. So I'm going to go ahead and lock it down now. So you lock these two nuts together, and then we double check it. Before we do the cut. And she looks good. So now what we're going to do, I'm going to go ahead and part it off. And then we're going to check it, and we're going to check length, and might have to do neck expansion. Okay, she's parted. Now I need to check the overall length. I'm going to deburr it. Just get a more accurate measurement that way. So we're going to do this. I'm going to check our overall. We're looking for 1771. We're at 1813. So we got a little ways to go. A nice little trimming tool here, but you got to be able to pass through the neck to be able to use it. So now we got to go over to the neck expander for 762 by 39. Okay, so I just changed the base, and now we got to make sure I got the right base, that one that I wandered over there with. That is not going to work. It's going to end up screwing me, and that's just not, that's not good. It's going to end up in such a way that it's going to come out, and then I'm going to get stuck on the expansion piece within the die, and it's not good at all. Okay, so I'm going to go back over there, and I'm going to open up the groove because it looks like that it's going to fit on this base here that I have, number 6. And so I need to open up that slot a little bit so that it'll fit in there. Otherwise, we're going to get stuck in the die. Okay, it's chucked up. I'm going to use the hacksaw, and we'll see if we can open that up. Getting close. Be nice if my metal lathe was working like it's supposed to. reduce the OD a little bit. It's really close. Super close. There she is. Okay, back to the press. Okay, so back to the press, and go ahead and put that base in there. We're going to put that shell in there. You better go in there after all that. Okay, and now we need the I got super loose of a 7.62 by 39. Actually, I want to lube this case up a little bit. I do not want to be running dry. And actually, I can run this guy up a little too. Like I say, neck only. That's all we're after. A little more. It seems like it's there, okay? So, we're still long. We need to be at 1771. So, I know my base is a little bit reduced. I can guarantee you from past experience it's still going to eject. It still has an extractor groove because if anything I enlarged it and what have you. We're the proper length from the base to the shoulder. The neck is sized, so now what we're after is overall length. So we're going to go back to the lathe and we're going to trim. Okay, so you need to check, we need to be at 1771, and we're at 1803. So we're not talking much, we're just talking just a little bit. And honestly, I might be better off just running it in by hand. Sometimes you can do this okay. That cutter might be a little dull, feels like. In fact, we might be able to just do it with the deburring tool because we're talking just such a small fraction. I don't know if I can check this on here without unchucking it. That would be freaking nice, but yeah, I don't think that's not gonna happen. So we're gonna go ahead and pull it back out and check it. I mean, because really we're after such a small fraction that I do not want to overdo it, because at that point it's not usable. 1792. Hand drill would probably be good at this point. Yeah, that baby is feeling kind of dull. Either that or it's bottomed out. That cutter could be bottomed out because it's for 223. We're at 1.769 and we're supposed to be at 1771. And I can tell you that that is, in fact, if I measure it right there, 1771. So it's done. We have a completed case out of 308 military brass, okay? And that's made for 762 by 45, okay? Now, as far as the base thickness, I mentioned earlier that I was concerned about the wall thickness. Obviously, anything I didn't touch up, I'm not worried about. But below there, you know, there's a little bit of concern because how thin is it getting, right? So I had one that I got stuck in the expander earlier. That was the first one I did, and it was doggone close, but I got stuck. So I went ahead and said, you know what, let's stick it in the lathe and part it off, and then that way I can get a measurement on how thick the wall is, right? Down near the base where I was screwing around with it. And I'm at 0.033. Let's measure right near the outer edge. Yeah, 0.033. And if I measure the other side, 0.29, 0.28, 0.31, 0.325. Now I bet you it's going to be similar. I think I got a little bit of burrs on this one. Either way, I'm satisfied that this should be safe. My brass that I just made should be safe to go. And I'm sure that I'm going to chamber up okay. But I'm going to go ahead and throw it into the rifle. And that's put up in the house. So I'm going to go ahead and throw it into the rifle, see if she chambers and extracts. Okay, I'm back. Okay, so I got the old rifle, the old CZ 52, and I know what they look like when they go. And that one is actually sticking out just a little bit. So I don't know if there's some kind of goop in the chamber or if it's dry or sticky or I don't know. Well, I'm going to slap it. That's a nope, does not go. And I got to fail to extract because I made the rim too small. So I got to rod that shell out of there. Okay, shell's out. I think what we got is just a little too fat, and so I think after all that monkeying around, hate to put her back through the die, so I think what I'm going to do is take her back to the lathe and run her on the lathe just a moment, and just take a little fat off the middle, because that's where it's hanging up. Okay, the other thing too is that on the back here I got a little bit of overlapping material on the face of that cartridge, so I'm going to knock it off with the file just a hair. Okay, so now we're going to go back over and throw it back onto the what did I do with that rod? I'm going to throw it back onto the rifle. See what we get. I know one thing we're not going to get is that it isn't going to want to extract because of that groove. So I don't know if the groove's not wide enough or what, but we'll figure that out here in a minute. Okay, so we'll see what we get now. Because we're playing with just the smallest amount, we get it closed. So she's chambered up. It's all the way in there as far as headspace. There's a primer in there. I'm going to go ahead and fire it. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and clear that chamber. Okay, so I'm going to lock that bolt open, and we're going to pull that baby out of there with the rod again. Okay, so that's out. I'm not going to put it back through anymore. Overall, I'm satisfied, however. And so, what does this tell us? For one thing, it's a lot of work converting a 308 case. It's a lot easier converting a Swift. But this shows people, including me, for when I look back, some things not to do, right? But also what worked. So, obviously, I can make and chamber a piece of brass out of 308 for 7.62 by 45. Good to know, at least for me. It's a little work in getting there. Now, you know, if we did some polishing or whatever, you know, that might have made the difference. I mean, I just filed this so it's not smooth and it's not been deburred or anything like that. Also, the rim size, we've got to be a little more cautious about what we're doing on the rim, because if you reduce too much, both it won't work in the shell holder and it won't extract. Extracting isn't going to matter if you're firing the case, so it's going to eject, right? You heard it go off, so you know that monkey business worked all the way around. I don't know if I'll pursue this or not, but it's one more thing in my arsenal of goodies that'll work. So if I can't find 220 Swift, I might pursue, well, one thing, fixing up my metal lathe so that I can cut accurately and in a more timely fashion. But I may just go ahead and reload this case and take it out and fire it, just because, and maybe this and maybe a few more, because I want to find out, do I end up with any problems as far as separation, and as far as the brass, this is quite a bit thicker brass than the 220 Swift. Although I have some 220 Swift coming, and when it gets here, I'm going to do another video strictly on 220 Swift and the 7.62x45. So anyway, have a good day. Thanks. Bye.